Dickie V, more like Dickie Disrespect.
Welcome on in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I am your host, Damon Fairall. He is Kevin Thomas. We are in HQ2 here in downtown Phoenix. And Kevin, we got another jam-packed show for the people today. Yesterday, of course, we had women's basketball head coach Becky Burke on the show. If you guys missed that interview, go back to yesterday's show, check that out. Maybe after this show, maybe watch this show.
Full interview is up right now.
Yeah. Click on the full interview, click on yesterday's show, maybe like all three of those, including this video. Drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Kevin, it is a great day to be an Arizona Wildcat, always is, but we got some Arizona softball, Arizona baseball, Arizona basketball, Arizona football to talk. It is going to be an absolutely electric Wednesday.
Indeed. Wednesday in this early June. Hope
Had to
everyone's
think about
doing
it for a
good out
second.
there. Damon, before we get into like our actual show stuff for today, there's no better time to get this done than off the top of the show. It's the NBA Finals tonight, Damon, or tomorrow night, right? I don't know. This week, either tonight or tomorrow night, the NBA Finals kick off. And I wanted to kind of ask you before that did kick off. Bennedict Mathurin, TJ McConnell,
Tomorrow.
in the NBA Finals tomorrow night is when it starts. And I kind of wanted to ask you your thoughts on two former Wildcats, maybe certainly a fan favorite in TJ McConnell, and maybe one day a modern era fan favorite, I'll say, in Bennedict Mathurin for what he did against TCU in that epic dunk that I think everyone remembers every time they think about Bennedict Mathurin. But how are you feeling about those two being in the NBA Finals, Damon Dog?
Yeah, I certainly feel like the Thunder are kind of on the fast track to winning an NBA title here. I do think that these are the two deepest teams, which is interesting. Kind of given the current era of NBA basketball, it obviously used to be a very much superstar-driven league, and I feel like now you're seeing the kind of the antithesis of that with these two teams in the finals. Like, these are two teams that have depth up and down their roster, and a lot of that Pacers depth is because of a couple Arizona Wildcats. So hopefully they have a good series. I could see TJ McConnell being a important piece to guarding one Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from time to time. Not that he'll be, the primary defender or whatnot, but definitely a guy that you can throw on SGA for a couple possessions and just have him be a pest. That's what TJ McConnell does best. But yeah, Ben Mathurin had a couple good games in that Knicks series. I think we could see something similar. I don't think this will be a sweep, and I think that maybe the Pacers get those games that Ben Mathurin, can put up like close to 20 points per game. Hopefully.
Yeah, and I think, when you look at what each player individually has been producing this playoffs, I think, TJ McConnell has been a player that is conducive to winning literally his entire career since he picked up a basketball. He's one of those players that is trying to do things that helps the team collect a W at the end of the day, as opposed to make TJ McConnell look good.
Yeah.
And Bennedict Mathurin, he does some similar things to TJ McConnell in terms of, being conducive to winning basketball, but it is in much more of a loud fashion, right? Like it's hard to watch a Bennedict Mathurin performance and be like, oh yeah, that was a quiet 20 points. You're going to know that Bennedict Mathurin's going off when he is going off. So I'm very excited. I actually think Bennedict Mathurin could create some good memories for Arizona fans in this upcoming NBA Finals, Damon. I think when you combine his off the bench scoring pop with his athleticism and overall like the Indiana Pacers team, I don't know what the pundits are like, what ESPN and all the desk people and what Nick Wright and all those people are saying about these finals, but I feel like Indiana can really give OKC a run for their money. I would assume most people are taking OKC in this one, but I wouldn't count out the Pacers, Damon.
Yeah, I do like the Pacers, the kind of the fit against, like, I guess what's the word for it? Like their matchup, I guess, for lack of a better term, against the Thunder, just in the fact that their strength is in their depth. Their strength is in their, kind of like 9-10 man rotation that they play.
Yeah.
And the Thunder have had better depth and more players and more pieces that are playable in the playoffs than any team that they've gone up against thus far. So it'll be interesting to see how they counteract now that they have a team that kind of matches that strength of theirs. I still think that star power that Oklahoma City has is just going to raise them over the top. But I do think we could be in for a very fun series. And a couple Arizona Wildcats representing, and hopefully being a part of some wins at the very least, even if they don't, get the whole job done. I'm sure it'll mean everything still. There'll be legends in Indiana forever because that is a state that eats, sleeps, breathes basketball, and they don't have a ton of success to show for it, especially not finals appearances. So
1000%. And I know you're not like the biggest. In fact, I don't really think you're any size of a pro wrestling fan, Damon. But recently, Monday Night Raw was in Indy, I believe, and they had iconic commentator Michael Cole in a TJ McConnell jersey under his suit and he ripped it off. I thought that was really cool, mostly from the perspective of Arizona players are relevant, man. And we're going to get to the disrespect that Arizona's seeing from preseason rankings. But this is a program, this is a brand, I'll say, that does not necessarily deserve the disrespect and the lack of acclaim that they get from time to time. And I think it's really cool to see a player like TJ McConnell, of all of the alum, start to get some more mainstream clicks here, I'll say, some more mainstream looks from certain places that ordinarily he wouldn't get if his team was not in the NBA Finals. So very happy for TJ McConnell, very happy for Bennedict Mathurin and all of the Arizona Wildcat faithful this time of year. We are going to get to Michael's comment here later in the show about Megan McConnell joining the Phoenix Mercury, and we're going to talk more about that signing and if she can stay on the roster and all that stuff later in the show, Damon.
Yeah, we certainly will. Megan McConnell, another just add it to the Arizona basketball connections for the McConnell family there. But yes, as you mentioned, there's been a little bit of, I want to say, disrespect put around on these streets. You mentioned it off the top in the cold open. Dick Vitale comes out with his very early 12 best teams in college basketball list. And he kind of just gave a quick blurb on each, team that he has here in this top 12. And why he believes that they belong on this ranking here. Well, when you look at this ranking, Kevin, Purdue number 1, I think that's the popular pick to be the number 1 team in the country. Going into next season, you have Braden Smith. You have, I believe, 4 or 5 returners. Their center was injured all year. He's coming back now. They brought in a big-time power forward recruit. Like, Purdue's going to be a really good team. I think it's a safe bet. Number 2, you have Houston. Very familiar with Houston. Obviously, they finished second last year and are bringing back, Manuel Sharp, Joseph Tugler. Gross. And
worst sideburns
Milos
maybe in the
Wysong.
history of basketball.
Yes. Awful criminal sideburns, some people would say. Then you have Florida at number 3 after Alex Condon comes back. UConn number 4. St. John's number 5. And here is where I think things get interesting. You have Texas Tech at 6 and BYU at 7. I look at that, Kevin, and I say, oh, wow, okay, well, Arizona must be they must be next up. They must be right around the corner here, right? Well, you would be wrong. It ends out with Arkansas, Duke, UCLA, Kentucky, and Michigan at number 12. Here's where I'm at with it, Kevin. BYU and Arizona were neck and neck. Well, actually, Arizona was above BYU for most of the season. BYU kind of was peaking at the right time. Arizona played a couple tough games, and they ended up tying in the Big 12 standings last year. Split the season series 1-1, won on each other's home floors, interestingly enough. Then you look at Texas Tech. Arizona and Texas Tech genuinely were neck and neck all season long in the Big 12. It was somewhat of a battle for second place for most of the year. Texas Tech ends up leading Arizona by a game when it's all said and done. But I think you look at two teams that Arizona went around further in the Big 12 tournament by beating them in the semifinal. Arizona went one round behind Texas Tech in the NCAA tournament, while Texas Tech, went to the Elite Eight. Arizona went to the Sweet 16. Very, very comparable teams from last season, just in terms of caliber, Kevin. Arizona does not make this list. The two teams that I think me and you have kind of put Arizona in the class of all offseason long, saying BYU and Texas Tech, I think in Arizona, that's the three teams I think that are going to be competing with one another for much of next season, along with Houston as well. But if Houston is projected to win the conference like they've done the last couple of years, I just find that interesting that Texas Tech and BYU get all this hype, and it really, I felt like that they got it in the last college basketball season as well, without Arizona getting a ton of hype. Going into recruiting cycle somewhat, where I think Houston and BYU have been heralded as these look at these classes, while Arizona has been talked about a little bit less. And then now you see these rankings from a big national pundit in Dick EV, and Dick Vitale does not put Arizona in his top 12, but he puts the teams that me and you think are right around the exact same caliber very, very clearly in that top 12. So I guess just what are your initial thoughts looking at that list?
Looking at this list, specifically in relation to the Big 12, I'll say first, it seems as though there's a lot of, and this is a way too early preseason ranking, right? So there's going to be a hint of this.
Yes.
But it feels like there is a lot of, with these Big 12 teams, recency bias. Excuse me. With this list, like Texas Tech, I know most of our viewers and listeners probably don't have this pulled up right now, but in his little blurb about why Texas Tech is 6, he says, and I quote, "The Red Raiders are ready to raid again. J.C. Toppin and Christian Anderson are back, reinforced by transfer talent like Lawan Watts and Josiah Mosley. They made it to the Elite Eight last year. Could a Final Four be next?" And I feel like we see so many teams that make an Elite Eight, and then the next year is not exactly a step up after the Elite Eight. It's somewhat of a regression to the mean. And I think that while Texas Tech is going to be a very good team next year, Damon, just getting Lawan Watts and Josiah Mosley, in fact, you lose Darion Williams as well. I just don't necessarily see there to be a reason to have them at 6 and be like, well, they made the Elite Eight. They only got better. Could a Final Four or national championship be next? And sure, it could be next, but is the Texas Tech offseason, does that give you more or less confidence that they're going to be better than a team like BYU, for example, even, who is right below them on this list, who also got, at the time, the number 1 player in his high school class, and you go out and get the most sought-after recruit of the transfer class, however you want to say. I guess Yaxel Landeborg would probably be the number 1 most sought-after recruit in that class. But you're splitting hairs
Rob
there, right?
Ray was my personal number 1 that I made on my very thorough and dedicated transfer power rankings. But yes, continue.
Yeah, so like you have what BYU did in combination, in tandem with what Kevin Young was able to accomplish last season in Provo. It just feels like there's a little bit of bad math, specifically with the Big 12 teams on this list. I think some of the other squads, not Big 12 related, make a lot of sense, like Kentucky, Michigan, Arkansas, Duke, UConn, Florida, and Purdue all make sense. I'll say UCLA is the one non-Big 12 school here that really raises an eyebrow for me. You alluded to it. You and I were talking about it this morning. Mick Cronin, he's just not a coach that Mick Cronin's going to get the most out of this roster. He's just not a guy where you look at that and you think that about his teams. He did put up a very impressive offseason. You had the inclusion of Donovan Dent, Steven Jamerson, and Xavier Booker. And then you also have Tyler Bilodeau and Eric Daly Jr. headlining that squad. But overall, Arizona should be ranked higher than UCLA. Arizona should be, if Texas Tech is 6, Arizona should be 5. You know what I mean? Like I feel like there was someone that Dickie V forgot in this list, and it feels like it was Arizona, Damon.
Yeah, it certainly does feel that way. And yeah, it's just interesting. Like you read the list, you look at the projected starting lineups of a lot of these teams that are on here, and to me personally, and I'm not going to claim to be some like all-encompassing college basketball expert months before the season even starts. Like I definitely need to learn more about some of these players. Like I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I know a ton about Trent Perry, who was a freshman guard at UCLA last year, who played 11 minutes per game, shot 37% from the field, and had average 3.7 points per game. Like if he's a projected starter, to me that sounds like on paper that's not a position that UCLA is extremely strong at. But who knows? Maybe Trent Perry is a very, like, if I looked at Carter Bryant's stats, I wouldn't have been blown away, right? Like, maybe there's a little bit of an eye test component to, some of these players that I could definitely, scout a little bit further. But Donovan Dent, Sky Clark, Trent Perry, Eric Daly, Tyler Bilodeau does not sound like a better starting five to me than Jaden Bradley, Braden Burries, even ADO, yeah, Koa Pete and Tobe Awaka / Mo Krivas.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't sound any better than what Arizona has to me. I think Arizona certainly has a more impressive roster. Damon, I was doing a little bit of like quick research as to like, cause you said like you didn't really know much about Trent Perry. I'm not gonna pose and pretend that I know. I'm like a Trent Perry encyclopedia, but it did ring a bell. I was like, I know something about Trent Perry. What is it? And I looked it up, and he was a part of the McDonald's All-American game his senior year of high school. And I do have some Trent Perry cards because I am a McDonald's All-American, Topps product buyer. So I have some Trent Perry cards if he ever does pop off. But that's what I was thinking of there. You're literally looking at a bunch of guys, and Damon and I are pretty locked in on this stuff with UCLA. If you're being a little more like facetious, a little sarcastic, you're kind of looking at UCLA's roster being like a bunch of guys, like a bunch of high-level guys, but like not anyone that you're really writing home to your family about. Like, oh, I saw this UCLA game, and they had this kid that I just – sorry, I hit my laptop there. They have this kid that I just, I have to tell you about. I don't think UCLA has that talent on next year's roster. Arizona has a couple of guys on next year's roster that if they pan out, you're definitely going to want to end up writing home to your family about if you go see him in person. Koa Pete, Braden Burries. I'll even go as far as to say Dwayne Aristode is in there. Ivan Kharchenkov is in there. CD Gay is in there. Like, there's just so many players with Arizona that you are genuinely interested in their pro potential beyond just this next season at the college level, which only goes to add more intrigue to their time in college, right? Don't think UCLA has that kind of talent on their roster, although their roster is talented. I don't think they should have cracked this top 10, and I do think Arizona should have cracked this top 10. Brian Kensley here in the chat says, Dickie V always hated Arizona. That's a crazy way to end that comment, but he needs to go away already. And, he's at the age where he should retire, I'll say. He should go away to enjoy the fruits of his labor. I'll say that, Brian Kensley. But
very diplomatic of you, Kevin.
Yeah,
I just, regarding UCLA a little bit more, Tyler Bilodeau is, he averaged 13 points per game last year. He shot 50% from the field. He's a center. Like, I always like to look at field goal percentage because I think it's important when you're looking at big men in college. Like, if you're not efficient, what are we talking about? Eric Daly is an 11-point per game scorer last year. He's fairly efficient for a guard in particular. And then, Trent Perry, like, maybe he's projectable. Sky Clark is a guy who bounces around from team to team. Like, I'm not looking at that as to me, Sky Clark is the type of player that is not what you would call a winner. Like, Sky Clark is going to Louisville where they're horrible and taking a bunch of shots and then transferring the next season. And then Donovan Dent, who's a really, really high level basketball player.
Really good player.
So, I'm all for, UCLA Arizona rivalry. I want to see that game be a lot of fun next year, but I don't know, man. I don't think that these rosters stack up. I don't think that they're even really close to comparable. And obviously, it's like, this is our number one rival. We're going to compare ourselves to, them, especially when they're getting plaudits and Arizona is not. But when
they're getting what?
Plaudits.
What is that?
I think I used that correctly.
I want to learn something right now.
Plaudit, an expression of praise or approval.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like applause somewhat.
I've been taught something
similar. I'm sure similar origin of word.
Continue. Sorry.
No, all good. Love to teach my guy Kevin a little something new.
A little vocab on this Wednesday afternoon.
I'll tell you what. That's a little bit of seniority right there. Like, you hadn't reached that point in your life yet.
That's that wisdom showing through.
Exactly. That's that extra year of life that I've lived that you haven't. And so
that's a year 25 word.
Hey, I'm here all night. You need something else, Kevin? You need more dictionary help? I am here all night. You mentioned Steven Jamerson, 10 points per game, 8 rebounds per game at San Diego. Cool. Like, cool, man. Sounds like a good backup big man, Like, I'm not putting a bunch of stock into this team having that top end talent. I look at their roster. I think one guy from their team starts on Arizona, and that's Donovan Dent. I personally, I guess you probably Eric Daly probably starts over ADO as a small forward, but and you run 3 guards. But I don't know, man. Jaden Bradley, Braden Burries, Koa Pete, Tobe Awaka, like those are different caliber college basketball players than what I'm talking about here on this from a UCLA standpoint. And I just can't. It's annoying to see this year after year after year after year where we go into seasons and it's like, yeah, they're 19th, and you're like, when does Tommy Lloyd, like, when does he, I guess last year we finished around that range solely because of the disastrous non-conference. But if you solely go based off of what the conference, output was and the team that Arizona proved to be over the course of a season rather than just over the first 10 games or so, like that was a team that also was probably like a top 12, top 10 caliber team. And it just, everything went wrong in non-conference, right? So, like, I'm tired of them being like, oh, yeah, this team is ranked 20th, and you're like, cool, well, they're gonna lose 5 games all season.
I'll add this to your point here, Damon. Tommy Lloyd has been at Arizona for 4 complete seasons, right? In going into his first year, they were not preseason ranked. Their AP highest rank was 2. Their AP final rank was 2. Going into next season, you say, okay, they were an unranked team. Sure, they were the second best team to end last year, but we're going to put them in the top 25 at 17 preseason for 2022-23. They say, well, sure. AP high that year for Arizona is 4 after coming in at 2 last year for their high, and then they finish at 8, and you're thinking, okay, surely that's a top 10 preseason
2 top 10
team.
finishes in a row.
Yeah, right? And they go, well, you're just outside. We're going to preseason rank you at 12. And you're like...
That was last year.
The year before
Okay.
last, yeah. You're thinking, okay, you're inching closer to that top 10. Well, why don't they go out and have an AP high of number 1 2 years ago? AP final of 11, still higher than the preseason rank.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally you get a little bit of respect. And they finally preseason rank you higher than your last season final ranking. This past season, they were preseason ranked AP 10, AP high of 9, AP final of 15. So judging by the trend, Damon, Arizona's the 35th best team in the country, according to rankings. Preseason probably, even though you and I and all the walls around us both know Arizona's a top 10 team in the preseason, and there's really no other way to cut it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly how I feel. Looking at, some of the other names on this list, or some of the other teams I want to say on this list, like a Michigan, for example. I know that they bring in Landenberg, right?
And Cadeau.
But Cadeau is he's projectable.
Correct. I'm just saying he deserves to get a mention there, though.
Sure, but my point that I was going to make on Cadeau is that we are sitting here saying he could be really good, man.
If
he becomes a lot more efficient and blah 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 blah, like all these different things. Whereas I feel like you're like with Arizona, their point guard is maybe the most steady player in all of college basketball. Like, this is the difference that we're talking about here, Kevin. And I really feel like that kind of stuff matters. Like, I think Dusty May is an incredible coach. I think he's a really, really, really good coach. He's proven that, right? Like, going to a Final Four at FAU is no joke. But, and I expect this roster to be good. And maybe it looks really, really good, being that it's going to be in the freaking Big Ten, and you get to beat up on trash teams constantly. Rutgers, who has 2 top 3 picks but can't even make the tournament. Like, that's the type of team that you're playing in the Big Ten on a game by game basis. So I understand that, but I really feel that Arizona is being underrated here. When I'm looking at these other rosters, I'm looking at these other projected starting 5s, and I'm saying to myself, what am I missing? You're supplementing seniors that have proven it before with top of the line, top 15 level talent to supplement. Like I just feel like that's how you build a roster. That's how you build a winning team. And they are underrating Arizona so much. Dick Vitale is underrating Arizona. Like, Arizona should be in the range of a Texas Tech. No doubt about it.
1,000%. Totally agree with you, Damon. There's no way around it. You and I can sit here and try to rhyme or reason our way through how Arizona is being ranked so low. Like, what are we missing? Is Jaden Bradley secretly, flown off to France to play professionally? Has Koa Pete, assumed a different name and moved to Guadalajara or something? Like, I don't know, like, what's going on that Arizona, I'll say, is not getting the attention, the love that this class, I think, deserves. Because when Arizona comes out here to play next season, you would best believe if they have a slow start, people are going to be like, oh, see, look, Arizona, right? All the attention's going to shift to Arizona immediately if they come out and struggle. If they come out and rip off 5 in a row to start the year in the non-conference, even though they have an insane non-conference, right? I still think people are going to be like, yeah, well, are they going to get burnt out after such a tough not? Like, they're always going to move the goalpost, right, with Arizona. And I feel like this is another example of that. I kind of laid out the preseason rankings in relation to final rankings since Tommy Lloyd has gotten to Arizona. And finishing final AP lower than the AP preseason for the first time. I'm sure the AP is going to be like, well, we just can't trust Arizona. We just can't. Do we know who Arizona is? And it's nonsense.
But that's crazy. Like,
it's
how
nonsense.
could you trusting Tommy Lloyd is the easiest thing I've ever done. I trust Tommy Lloyd.
My favorite thing to do.
I trust Tommy Lloyd with my bank account and routing number. You know what I mean?
My social.
Yeah, 100%. What is that, by the way?
9 digits. Wait, how many digits? It's 3 digits, 2 digits, 4 digits, right?
And what's the name of your first childhood pet?
That was Lucky the Goldfish.
Gotcha. Yep. Elementary school.
That was Wind Grove Elementary.
Okay, just asking these questions for no particular reason.
Mother's maiden name. It was Smith Rogers, hyphenated.
Hyphenated. That's huge. Thank you.
Yeah. It's case sensitive, those ones, so you got to make sure.
But yeah, I guess it's teach their own, right? Like, you look at Michigan's, projected starting lineup, Yaxel Landenberg. Would you rather have the guy who averaged 17.5 at UAB, or would you rather have Koa Pete, who is going to be probably a top 10 pick in the NBA draft next year?
Oh, you're asking me. I'd rather have Koa Pete.
I think it's somewhat rhetorical, but yeah. We're talking about a very, very high level. We know that his floor is a great college basketball player versus somewhat of an unknown, but I feel like that's what Koa Pete's giving you is 17 points per game. Like, that's the range I expect him in. And I think that doing it in the Big 12, doing it, with the athleticism that Koa Pete brings to the table, like, all of those things put him above a guy like that who is considered to be the number 1 transfer in the entire country coming in. So it's just that it's that kind of like thought processes that I go through when I'm looking at these, where I'm just like, I don't understand how you could say Michigan, UCLA are clearly better teams than in Arizona. I'd love to know where Dickie V would have put Arizona on that list if,
like, a top 25.
Yeah, like if it was a top 25, like where Arizona would have figured out, would he have had them just missing out? Because then I can wrap my head, or I could cope with that a little bit more.
They're like 14.
If you had them at like 20, then all of a sudden, like, I'm grabbing my pitchfork, I'm grabbing my torch, and I'm going to storm the offices of Bristol, Connecticut, because we will not stand for such disrespect. But yeah, Jeff Borzello did a way too early top 25 on June 2nd, so a couple of days ago, and he had Arizona at number 13, 2 spots ahead of UCLA at number 15. So, I think that's a little bit more like it. But again, like, BYU number 6, Louisville number 7.
Louisville's been getting a lot of love, a lot of national love.
Man, like, is there I can't envision a world where Louisville is better than Arizona next year.
No, I can't.
Maybe
I can't
because
either.
the ACC is garbage.
ACC bad. You have Michael Brown Jr. coming in, the number 6 player in the class, the 6'3" guard. And then you also have the number 25 player in the class.
With Braden Burry's, like, that's a wash to me,
Yeah, no. And then you have the number 25 player in the class coming in. You have a couple international guys, Mohamed Kamara, Vangelis Zugris, Isaac McNeely transfer.
We have
He's a decent
Ivan
player.
Kharchenkov.
Ding, ding,
Damn.
ding.
Yesterday we were so money.
Yeah, we were. And then I messed up myself there. Anyway, Ryan Conwell from Xavier, he's a good player. Adrian Woolley from Kennesaw State. One of those 2 schools. Yeah, Some transfer
Isaac
players
McNeely,
here.
I will say, averaging 14.5 at Virginia is basically like averaging like 35.5 anywhere else in the country. So
He's a good player. No,
yeah,
I actually am a fan, like genuinely, of their transfer class.
yeah.
And if Michael Brown Jr. is the player that his ranking dictates him to be, same thing with Sonata Frew. That's a great name. Sonata Frew. Great name. But if those two players come through, as in addition to the transfer class, that's going to be a really good team next year, Damon. But you're correct. I can't see them like being projected to be better than Arizona in a preseason like situation where like not a situation where Arizona comes out with a harder non-conference than Louisville and maybe goes like 2-3 in their first 5 or whatever, and Louisville maybe starts out like 4-1 or something. Like maybe I could see you then being like, well, look at Michael Brown. He's looked like a freak. You know, it's been 5 games. He looks really good. Arizona's stumbling out. Like I could maybe see like how you're logically getting there, but at this point in the calendar year, Damon, there's no reason as to why you should have Louisville preseason ranked higher than Arizona, in my opinion.
I feel like they have to prove it.
Exactly.
Also, looking at this Jeff Borzello ranking, I felt like Kansas was underrated, and I'm going to continue to feel that way leading up into the rankings if they're going to be continued to rank in like the low 20 range. Kevin, I find that kind of ridiculous, to be honest.
Even with Darren Peterson, it is interesting. Like I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but like off the top of my head, I feel like most of the time KU is actually good is when they do have like that high end NBA guy.
Yeah.
And if Darren Peterson pans out, like they're gonna have that guy. And so yeah, I do feel I'm with you on that. I feel like Kansas is probably being underrated considering.
Well, I think Flory Badunga is going to get better. And he clearly is a guy that projects to kind of explode a little bit.
Former McDonald's All-American.
Yeah, Trey White is a good player. I think there was a lot of mouths to feed at Illinois last year, and now he gets a little bit more of the ball in his hands. And then they bring in a couple experienced transfers that scored well last season. And we talked about my guy Calderon on Kansas, who I think is going to be an absolute stud.
That guy's a freak.
He is a freak. He projects to be an NBA player. I'll say that much. So I don't know, man. I think that they're underrated. I think that you got to look out for Kansas a little bit. But ultimately, you look at these rankings and you got to take them with a grain of salt. Who really cares at the end of the day? It's June. But we got to talk about something. And I'm always going to find a way to be angry at Dick Vitale if he disrespects Arizona. So you can take that to the bank. That is a guarantee. That's a Damon Christmas promise. North Carolina, number 25. I think it's one last interesting topic to talk about before we round this one out here. They have a projected starting lineup of Keon Evans from Colorado State, who Arizona was slightly interested in.
Good player.
Seth Trimble, Luka Bogovac, as we talked about 2 days ago's show, maybe yesterday's show, in relation
every
to
day is the same, Damon.
Kharchenkov.
The sun rises, the sun sets.
Yep. Seth Trimble, like I said earlier, he had a good season last year for North Carolina. Caleb Wilson, who's a top 10 recruit in the country, the only power forward ranked higher than Koa Pete, I believe. And then Henry Vasar as the projected starting
Such a weird
center.
sentence. Gross.
Yeah.
Hate that.
I do hate that. I think that honestly, looking at that, I think that they could be a little underrated too. And granted, I think, Hubert Davis is kind of an abysmal coach at given the talent level that he has. He's one of those guys who, you want to talk about being born on third base, as we talked about yesterday, right? Like with Hodges in relation to North Texas and McCaslin being there before him. Hubert Davis was put in a position where it's like, how could you not recruit talent at North Carolina? Pretty sure Kevin and I could co-coach the team and recruit talent to North Carolina.
I unironically think you and I would be incredible, like a duo of recruiters. I think if a team like let's say Tommy Lloyd, like for whatever reason in a parallel universe, right? This is not the reality of the situation, but in a parallel universe, Damon, like Murph just ain't cutting it. Tommy's just fed up. He's choking on these, he's not closing these recruits. And he's watching our pod and he's like, you know what? These guys just know how to put ideas together.
They have the juice.
They have that it factor, that aura that these kids talk about nowadays. They got it. I'm just going to send these kids. Because he would probably call us kids to, you know what I mean? So I'm going to send these kids into the recruits' living room to see what they can do. And next thing you know, Damon and I are talking to the number one recruit in the nation like, do you like hot dogs? Do you like Sonoran hot dogs? Oh, you think you don't like hot dogs because they're nasty and they just have ketchup and mustard on them? No. These Sonoran dogs are going to get you right. That's the recruiting tactics that me and Damon are bringing to the table. In addition to telling them every reason why Arizona basketball is the biggest brand in basketball.
Hitting all the spots. Tej asking for the recruiting pitch right now. Here's the recruiting pitch. Tucson is the number one place to go play college basketball, and here's why. It's a college town. What you do, it revolves around the entire city. You are the king of the entire city if you are, a winning basketball player on campus. It's a great place to party. Let's just be real. If you're imagine being the king of the campus and you're winning, what that looks like at the University of Arizona. Wonderful weather year round, basketball culture, tons of funding, great facilities. It's just, I feel like it's hard to beat when you're putting all of that out and listing it. Like, I could say almost all the same of those things for all the top tier basketball schools, but if you go through like a Kansas, you got to live in Lawrence, brother.
Gross.
I guess
Texas Tech, you got to live in Lubbock. Gross.
Yeah, that doesn't even, they're not even in that caliber of what we're talking about here.
Duke, you still got to live in North Carolina.
Yeah, and that's kind of cool, but it's humid as hell.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that much.
I'll say Tucson,
and
beautiful people.
Not as much. Yeah, you're not as much partying, and not again like you just said, Kevin. Not as beautiful of people.
You got Tucson, beautiful people, beautiful year-round weather, beautiful diverse food scene, basketball culture that goes down to the roots of the city. A city with great people skills. Like the people in Tucson, they say
Very
Midwest.
nice.
They say Midwest Southern hospitality is a thing.
Yes,
but it's like this fake, superficial, like, how you doing, hun? Like, you don't care how that person is doing.
And he's from Missouri.
Yeah,
he
Tucson,
knows.
people actually like if they ask you how you're doing, they're like, how are you doing? Like, oh, you're good? What's going on with you? Like, that's Tucson. And there's no other better places, Damon said, to be the king. Right? Like, if you are in a huge metro city, you're probably going to get swallowed up by the star power of, like, whatever NBA team or NFL team is nearby.
Like Sam Levitt, like, he's a stud. That's cool. But, like, he'll never be Devin Booker or Kyler Murray.
No. Never in his life. I was at a card show, right, in early in this summer, and Sam Levitt was there signing cards. He was walking around to tables, and obviously he had fans. Fans showed up, and, like, they asked him to sign stuff and whatever. But he could just walk around, like, kind of just uninterrupted, I'm doing his thing. In Tucson, like, people actually care about you. They want to see you succeed. Also, we haven't even gotten to the number one coach in all of college basketball, Tommy Lloyd. You want to make it to the NBA? Is there a better route than the guy who's coaching all the Team USA under 18 guys? Oh, you want to play against the elite of the elite? Grind your butt off, play for the USA team, and you're going to be playing with Tommy Lloyd year round. There's no other school in the country that can provide you the recruiting pitch that Arizona can provide you. And plus, Tej, you're trying us like we even need to give you a recruiting pitch. We had Becky Burke on the show yesterday. She said our memes make it into recruiting slide decks. We don't even got to make a pitch. We don't even got to use our words. We just got to make memes.
Now that you mentioned that part of it, that was kind of a miss on us at the beginning. We are the recruitment
We
team.
are recruitment.
The hell are you talking about?
We are 24/7. We own the boards. We do everything.
Apparently, what we do on social media is it moves mountains in this athletic department. So.
Also, it's a good reminder that people see your tweets, folks. Like if some people, like if you're tweeting about people in the athletic world, they might just see your tweet. Maybe that's maybe it's a good thing. Maybe you want them to see your
that's like what I told
hate,
Becky yesterday when Coach Burke was on the show, and she was like. She was saying like she's everybody's favorite right now, right? Like she's undefeated, and then but she was like saying like that'll change it when they start losing a couple games. And I was like, well, Kevin will always be nice. Kevin's a nice guy, but I am the one that you have to worry about from a getting emotional on Twitter standpoint. That being said, I feel like regarding U of A athletics and losses, I am very level-headed.
Yeah, you are.
I genuinely am like, as far as I know I'm off the rails when it comes to all types of other things, but I do have good perspective from like, these are college kids and they lost, and let's not go crazy on them. But it is certainly, we are the recruitment team, and we will continue to do so. Like Tom says, leave a like on this video, please. It helps us out so much. And you really have no idea. The likes are everything. Helps put it in other people's feeds, helps feed us by putting money in our pocket and putting food on our table. So please like this video, subscribe to the channel. Kevin, we're going to get into a little bit of football talk, where Arizona is ranked in ESPN's FPI, and a little bit of Arizona wide receiver room, what that is looking like right now. We'll do that on the other side of this break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast.
We are here, and I love being here at PHNX HQ2, but honestly, I'd rather be at Gila River Resorts and Casinos because that is the place to be 24/7, 365, because you can do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you at any of their locations. My favorite is the Wild Horse Pass, the classic Wild Horse Pass. Check out the A Shula Steakhouse there. They got more affordable dining options as well. And honestly, one of the coolest parts about Gila River, Damon, any kind of bar scene, they got it. You want like the sports bar, with a bunch of, strangers, just, I can't believe you missed.
Sitting on a stool.
They'll have that.
Yeah.
You want the more upscale, I'm gonna have an espresso martini, please. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff.
You literally had that.
I literally did. And you can literally do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Check out their sports book, the BetMGM sports book, all the action. Sean O'Malley versus Merab Davalishvili this weekend. Kayla Harrison versus Juliana Pena this weekend. Very excited. Don't miss out on any of the action with Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Place your bets and experience the excitement with our friends over at Gila River.
That sounds electric. Another place that is absolutely electric to go watch some sports. Maybe go play a little bit of sports yourself with our friends at Chicken and Pickle. Chicken and Pickle is back in the fold, people. And we love Chicken and Pickle. I love Chicken and Pickle in particular. We ran a few PHNX tournaments, pickleball tournaments out there. Me and Danielle, we were a crew. We were a team. We were putting on highlighter construction vests as a part of our costume that we put together. And then
classy.
It was classy. We joined the intermediate bracket, and that was a massive mistake because intermediate apparently means that you are a pickleball phenom, and the group that ended up winning it, I mean, they might as well have been playing a different sport than what we were trying to play. That's okay, though. They got beginner groups, too. And next time I will hit up that beginner group. But pickleball is so damn fun, man. And I know I'm talking about the pickleball, but let me talk up the food for a second, too, because Chicken and Pickle's food is phenomenal. They brine their chicken in pickle juice, and it tastes unreal. I tried it at home because of Chicken and Pickle doing it, and it tastes great at home, but it tastes even better at the place itself. So go check out Chicken and Pickle in Westgate in Glendale, right by the Cardinal Stadium. Great place to watch a game, great place to get some food, play some pickleball. It's so much fun. Visit chickenandpickle.com to plan your visit today.
Do you have a favorite kind of pickle, Damon?
Favorite kind of pickle?
Mm-hmm.
Man, honestly, like the different kinds of pickles confuse me a little bit just in terms of like what really is so much different about them. But there are ones that are like they're like a little bit spicy or whatever. Have you ever had the Famous Dave's Costco pickle jar that you get, and they're like hot and sweet and spicy pickle chips? Those are really good.
I'm a bread and butter guy myself. I'm a bread and butter guy myself.
So again, like that's one of those ones where it's like that doesn't make any sense to me. What signifies a bread and butter pickle?
The label on the jar, brother. I don't know.
What's different about that?
So okay, I'll say I don't know what makes a bread and butter pickle the bread and butter pickle, but it is like a sweeter pickle. It's like a sweet pickle, pretty much. It's sweet. And it doesn't have like the vinegar savory.
They're sweet and tangy, often with onions and other spices, while dill pickles are more sour and savory.
Yeah.
Featuring dill as the main component.
Yeah. I love a dill pickle, but I think bread and butter is probably the best. A spicy one is really good too.
I'm a spicy guy. I am probably a little bit more of that the along the lines of the more vinegary sour taste. So opposite of you, I guess, if I had to go. But
before we move on, I'll give a hot take. Cucumber ain't even the best pickled vegetable, and I'll leave it at that.
Wow. I don't want you to leave it at that. We need to digress this a little bit more. What are you throwing at me here?
I guess I have a question now. Is garlic a vegetable? Googling, is garlic a vegetable? This is great podcasting. But you got to be accurate with these things. Okay, then I would say pickled garlic is probably.
Never had it.
It's really good. It'll change your life. It's really good. It's really good. Yeah. Anyway, I like to like bake stuff. Like when I roast like salmon, I'll throw some pickled garlic in the slits of the salmon, and it'll like do its thing. Very nice, very nice. But cucumber is close. It probably is the number one, Damon. But moving on, Arizona lost.
What a riveting topic on
yeah,
today's
I mean,
AZ
we were talking a little
Wildcats
chicken
show.
and pickle, and I was thinking to myself like, I could really go for a bread and butter like slice of anyway.
Underrated part about chicken and pickle, when you get like the chicken, they like grill the chicken, right? So they brine it in the pickle juice, then they grill the chicken. It's on like the rotisserie or whatever. When they bring it out to you, grilled jalapeno right next door, just sitting right down on the plate
right
next to you.
door.
Isn't that unbelievable?
No, that is.
That's real eats.
And now I'm going to be looking at every plate of food that I have as a neighborhood. And being like, oh, chicken throwing a cookout with the rice and beans. That's crazy.
And
anyway.
look who's invited.
Yeah, look who's invited. We got veggies.
But yes,
let's talk some football.
That
Damon.
is a riveting conversation, but it'll be a little bit more riveting when we get into some Arizona football talk. Happy Wildcat Wednesday to you too, Eric. I think I might start stealing that moving forward. Shout out, Eric. But
theft.
Well, not that he came
Live
up with
on the podcast.
Not that he came up with it himself, but I do like that for a little bit of a AZ Wildcats podcast intro on a Wednesday. If I remember that it's a Wednesday, Kevin.
Tucson Thursdays or Tucson Tuesdays would make the most sense.
Come on, bro.
Well,
Tucson
it's
Thursday.
Wednesday. I'm not thinking backwards. I'm looking ahead, Damon. I'm not looking back. Stop that right there, brother. Stop right there in your tracks,
I don't look
brother.
in the rear view.
Tuesday's coming up after the Thursday.
I got my eyes on the road, man. But Arizona, they did some. ESPN did their FPI rankings preseason. Arizona ranked number 69.
Nice.
On its way up from number 80 of last season, Kevin. Which, obviously last season was a total disaster, but you like to see a little bit of improvement in that regard going into this season. And we actually did some research into what FPI entailed. So Kevin, if you remember any part of that research, you want to tell the people at home what goes into it?
Yeah, no, for sure. So pretty much one thing that goes into it is the past, I think 4 recruiting classes go into it.
Yeah, which is the stupidest part of it by far.
You also have the returning players from last year's roster. Now, if your quarterback is returning, that player gets weighted more heavily than like a returning receiver, for example. So even like in a hypothetical world, I believe that like if T-Mac if T-Mac stayed, like if he had another year of eligibility, well, he did. Well, you know what I mean? My point is, T-Mac stays on Arizona's roster. No Fita leaves Arizona's roster. I think that actually, on football, from a football standpoint, you might say like, okay, well, you kept the better player. That's like more impactful. But to the FPI, the quarterback staying is really valuable. So Arizona retains Noah Fafita. That's a big boost. You also had last year's performance as well, Damon. And then there was a fourth one that is slipping my mind. But was it the coaching staff? Oh no, yeah, I think it was the coaching staff situation. But I'll verify that real quick.
Yeah, your coach returning, which was it said that was very slim, the impact that made into the formula. But essentially the number that that gets outputted at the end of it is how you would fare on a neutral field versus an average football team. Arizona ranks in at number 69. Ends up with a -1 as their FPI ranking. They are the first. If you were doing FPI rankings of Power 4 football programs that finished in the negative, Arizona would be number 1. Electric. They're the first program in Power 4 to be ranked in the negatives. And ultimately, like just overall, like not the worst number in the world. But damn, it just feels gross to have that little negative sign right in front of you, Kevin. Just letting you know, hey, you guys are not very good. Like, if you flip that around to positive, wouldn't you just feel so much better about yourself? If it was just at a 1.0, you'd be like, oh, yeah, you would. We're really above average football team. But the fact that it says negative 1.0 is, I'm just sitting here and I'm like, damn, we were that close to being in the positive.
Yeah. For the record, preseason FPI takes into account these 4 things. I have pulled it up because my memory was not good enough, even though I tried. The previous 4 seasons, most emphasis being placed on the most recent season. Returning starters, quarterbacks count more. Returning coaches also count. And then recruiting classes of the last 4 seasons also count. So returning Brent, Brennan, boosts, even though you might not agree with that. Returning no Fita boosts. And then you also have the previous 4 seasons, so also taking into account what Jed Fish was able to do, I believe, even though obviously the most emphasis is being placed on the horrendous year that was last year, Damon.
Yeah, in the Big 12, only Houston is below Arizona. They sit at 77 or 75th. Sorry. Arizona is right below South Florida, which that's one of those that just got to be better than South Florida at football, man. Oklahoma State, West Virginia are right above South Florida there. So the 2 more Big 12 schools that are extremely close to what Arizona has going on. Yeah, I mean, I obviously, like, a lot of these rankings are not going to be kind to Arizona when you're looking at them. We keep talking about it, rightfully so, right? Like, this is they showed what they showed last season, and it's up to this program, this coaching staff, and Seth Doege and his new offense to prove that what happened last year was more of a fluke than what is going to be the norm for this staff and the future of this program. Some other interesting points in here. They have Arizona at projected 4.9 wins and 7.1 losses. So projecting almost 5-7 record, which is very close to being bowl eligible, right? You steal a game and all of a sudden you are bowl eligible. 37.7% chance to get to 6 wins. So they're not counting Arizona out in terms of making a bowl game. They find that to be a fairly possible route to take, almost at 40% there. And then a 0.5% chance to win the Big 12 conference, which equals their chance to make the college football playoff. So you're saying there's a chance. Some of Arizona's like some of the more notable things, opponents that they have and whatnot. Hawaii is ranked 102nd on the list, to Arizona's 69th. Hawaii is projected 6.1 wins, so barely to be bowl eligible. Should be probably not a gimme game, to be honest with you. Arizona is favored over Hawaii by 12.5, I believe, in the first matchup. And so, yeah, there's Arizona should be able to get the job done. Minus 490 on that money line as of right now. But yeah, you should be able to get that win, but it's not necessarily a gimme. And I would say that the season will be over if you lose to Hawaii in week 1. Like, that is straight from the jump. Call it quits. Fire everybody. God, that's the most pivotal game maybe in the history of this athletic department. One of the first difficult games on Arizona's schedule is Kansas State. Kansas State ranked number 21 in FPI, projected 8.6 wins. Kansas State has a 22.2% chance to make the college football playoff, according to this FPI system. ASU at number 24, just a few spots down from Kansas State. Those are the highest ranked Big 12 schools. ASU projected 8.3 wins, a 13% chance to win the Big 12, and a 16% chance to make the college football playoff, which, of course, they are crying about and they are very angry about the fact that they're ranked number 24. So any thoughts on any of those rankings, Kevin, whether it's Arizona's, maybe any of their opponents, maybe ASU's? Any general thoughts?
I have general thoughts on Arizona's, but I really, really quickly want to touch on the ASU thing that you mentioned, like the sentiment being like, how dare they rank like ASU so low? How dare they disrespect Kenny Dillingham and the great Sam Levitt, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's also like, of all fan bases to not, give a damn about rankings, shouldn't Arizona State be like 1-1? Like, they were predicted last in the Big 12 last year and then won the conference. So who cares? Right? So who cares if you're being disrespected? You were disrespected last year, and you went out and won the whole damn thing. So I don't want to hear your belly aching, because other people, like us here at Arizona, actually have to care about the direction of the program and if it's moving in the right way on the rankings week in, week out. But yeah, talking about Arizona, transitioning to the school that we love and care about, it's nice that they're not at 71 or 70, that they're at 69. It's nice that they've improved. It's nice that you add a guy like Seth Doege, even though this ranking is really not going to take into account his intensity and his ball knowledge. But I think overall, Arizona has a chance to surprise some people this year. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to go out and win the conference, right? But I am saying they have a chance to be bowl eligible. They have a chance to show people that, like, hey, this is not a dumpster fire of a program. This is not a program that's just how fast can they bottom out and get a new head coach. This is a program that had an awful year last year, probably should have attacked some things, definitely should have attacked some things differently before the season took place, and they looked to address that in the offseason. Now, whether those changes actually bear out on the field have yet to be seen. But I think overall, the direction of Arizona football, while that -1 is gross and ugly and you hate to see it, they did improve over last year's rating. And you'd have to think that there's a ton of room for them to break into at least the top, I don't know. That's tough to say. But
yeah.
they have a lot of room to grow in those rankings, I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the names above them. I don't think that they're necessarily, schools that Arizona can't get above, right? Like we talk about Oklahoma State and West Virginia. I think that you could have a better season easily than both those schools. Stanford, Virginia, Syracuse, Cal, Michigan State. Like these are teams that are not that great. And if Arizona proves anything next season, that they're much better, significantly better than what they showed the previous season, they should be able to reach those heights. I would hope. So, yeah, we will find out. We will come to find out in the upcoming season here. But yeah, not necessarily the most uplifting review of Arizona football. But certainly, I think Arizona can prove some people wrong, and it's not all doom and gloom here. There is a lot of new faces in the building, a new offensive system, the same quarterback. I think there are some things too that you can definitely talk yourself into regarding this football team, and like I said, 37.7% chance to make a bowl game. Like that's there's worse odds in the world. I would take that. Especially if you told me after last season, like directly after last season, that Brennan was going to be retained, I would have, not been very happy at that at first. But I think that given the fact that he was retained, they've pretty much checked all the boxes of what I would have liked to have seen happen throughout this offseason. Maybe, without like bringing in like a true superstar level player that maybe could be the face of the program with T-Mac being gone. But other than that, like young offensive coordinator with juice who you can believe in, retaining the quarterback, bringing in a bunch of different receiver profiles that, can help this team and are provide definitely a lot more presence for Noah to get the ball to outside of a T-Mac, which, he did not have at all last season. So all in all, I think that, you got to be encouraged by what you're seeing. But the jury is very, very much still out on this program and their direction.
1,000%. But the jury is not out. And the conclusion, the verdict is in. I wish I had my mallet with me, but we are officially going to overtime here pretty soon, folks. So if you're watching on any of our beautiful streaming partners and not on the YouTube side of things, head over to gophnx.com because the party continues and, dare I say, improves as soon as we enter this overtime period. So tap in with me and Damon on the other side of overtime.
Welcome to overtime.
But yeah, you kind of laid into or alluded to the show title today that we're finally getting around to of can Arizona football? Jeez, can Arizona football be better from a receiver room perspective next season without the greatest receiver in the history of the program, Tetairoa McMillan? You kind of spoke to his impact and the things that are going to have to change without him being on next year's roster, Damon. But when we spoke to Seth Doege in the offseason about his approach to replacing that production, and Brennan kind of echoed something similar, right? About how, and shout out to Jacob Franklin, about how you can't replace the talent, the potential, the production of the individual of Tetairoa McMillan. But what you can do is have a deeper receiver room that overall can get you more receiving yards throughout the course of a season because you're not focusing on one superstar talent, right? It's kind of like, a bird in the hand being worth two in the bush kind of a thing. Would you rather have the superstar receiver but no one behind him? Mm-hmm. Or would you rather have the group of good guys that none of them are that top-end talent? So when I say can Arizona's receiver room be better next year without T-Mac, what is your response, Damon?
I would say yes, which we did already, Shane.
We're already in overtime, Shane. We're in outlaw country now.
Yeah, I would say that they easily could be better than what Arizona had last season. I think you look at a guy like Kris Hunter, who I people have high expectations for going into this next season. So I'm not saying this to downplay his importance or what he could do next year. But when your number 2 receiver last year is a 300-yard former walk-on that really had zero expectations going into the season, I think that is very concerning about what you outlaid last year from a receiver standpoint. Now things get a lot easier just in the fact that you feel like you have like 5-6 people that could come in and help this roster, and you need to make those available offline, brother. But
Indeed.
yes, I think that T-Mac is obviously, you're not going to replace a guy like T-Mac. He's special. He is generational. He's the best receiver that this program has ever seen, and I don't think that that's even remotely close to a question here. But you didn't have anything outside of him. Quali Conley was your 3rd leading receiver, I believe, on the whole roster last season, which is so gross. Like one of the grossest things I've ever heard. He also had, I think, like 200, 300 yards and was 2nd or 3rd on the team. In the Jed Fish years, like T-Mac was clearly the number 1, but you still had Jacob Cowing bringing in a lot of the targets. You still had Tanner McLaughlin. You still had, Montana Lamonius Craig even showing up and providing, a outlet. Like last season was just horrible from a supplementary receiver standpoint. And at least with this team, I believe that, maybe they don't have that guy who's that headliner, but I definitely think that they have a bunch of guys who are playable and a bunch of guys who can get the job done when called upon. And that's, Chris Hudson, that's Tre Spivey, that's Luke Wysong, and the list goes on and on. But there's decent to good to very good college football players in this receiving room at this point. And last season, you just could not say that whatsoever. Last season, it was a lot of below average football players in this receiving group.
Additionally, Damon, not only do you have a much deeper receiver room this year, you have a much more diverse skill set in there, right? You have physical guys, you have fast guys, you have hands guys. I mean, they should all be hands guys. You know what I'm saying? But you have your different skill sets. Correct. Thank you. Actually, yeah. And then you have like your I think what they probably are missing is that like one guy that is the red zone target for certain.
Mm-hmm.
But that'll work itself out. Hopefully, you hope so throughout the course of the season. That's what I'm most excited for, right? Is the different skill sets that Arizona and Seth Doege specifically have to work with over the course of this, upcoming season, as opposed to last season where, yes, the offensive coaching was far below average, but also the tools, specifically the receiver room that we're talking about, you didn't really have much outside of T-Mac to work with there because, everything else was going so awry. You couldn't really expect a Kris Hunter to become a true number 2 guy with the plays that were being ran there. So I'm very encouraged by the receiver room. Eric Duthie, our guy here in the chat, shout out to you. Happy Wednesday. I'm excited to see this new receiver room. Great additions of talent from the portal. Totally correct on that. Also, I think you might have alluded to or touched on it, but you also have guys in this room now that you can project forward, right? Like last year felt like a last ride for T-Mac and some of the guys in that that room. This year you have Tre Spivey, you have Kris Hunter, you have Chris Hudson as well, like guys that have a lot of room to grow this upcoming season to show like their actual talents. There's not a lot of known variables where you know exactly what you're going to get this season from some guys, and I think that could be a negative thing, sure, because sometimes it might not translate to Arizona, but it also is a very exciting thing because you get to speculate, you get to project as to what Luke Wysong can do before he does it, what Kris Hunter can do this year with more of an outsized, sculpted out role. So that's what I'm the most excited for with this receiver room. When I'm talking about the question of if they can be better without T-Mac, I think it's a trick question in a way, right? Because like what does better mean? But I'm talking about more productive, right? And I think they can be more productive, even though they're losing the 8th overall pick in the NFL draft.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually would be shocked if they didn't get more productive just based off of the statistics. Like I would be absolutely floored if we looked back on next season, at the end of next season, and we find out that these numbers are from 2024 are actually higher than what they are in 2025 because Arizona only had 2,975 receiving yards last year, and T-Mac provided 1,300 of those by himself. So only 18 receiving touchdowns as well. I think that those numbers all are gonna skyrocket here, and not necessarily because I think that this team is going to be unbelievable, but just because I think that they did fix the problem in this receiving room, which was the lack of depth and the lack of supplementary pieces. And it makes me just think to myself, like, imagine if this was the receiver room with T-Mac last year, how much different last season could have gone if you had a Kris Hunter as his number 2, if you had a Luke Wysong in the slot, kind of as that possession receiver role.
Luke Wysong would have gotten them to a bowl.
Tre
Like
Spivey,
you were talking about
Tre Spivey to give him a little bit of time off, a little bit of maybe a couple snaps that he can grab some water. Like they didn't have any of that last year. He had to be on the field at 100% of the time, or else the offense was completely inept. It was completely inept with him on the field.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that you probably are going to get worse from an offensive line standpoint. And I think that that's where things are scary. But from a skill player standpoint, there's zero doubt in my mind that Arizona is vastly improved in that regard.
Not only that, and I know this is a conversation just about the receiver room, right? But sometimes you got to look elsewhere as well, right? Because Keon Burnett is back in the fold. And I think like when you're talking about production from a receiving standpoint, I know that's a tight end statistic, right? The receiving yards from the tight end room is different than the receiving yards from the receiver room. But in the statistical category, it's all the same. So we're not going to be sitting here in the middle of whatever, November, in the fall, being like, well, Arizona's receiver room has been, more productive, but that's only because Keon Burnett is getting extra amount of the yards. Like, we're not going to do that, right? So I feel like overall the passing game next year should 1,000% be more productive than last year, even though you are losing the best receiver your school's ever seen in Tetairoa McMillan. And I think on its face, that's kind of a surprising statement. But when you really look at the guys that Arizona's added, it makes a lot of sense.
One underrated aspect, I think, and you mentioned it with Seth Doege, is like he is a guy who has said how important it is for him to mold his offense to the players that he has at his disposal. And I think the different profiles, the contrasting profiles, that really helps out a coach that is truly like that. And we'll see. I certainly believe it when he says it. I'll again, as much as I trust Tommy Lloyd, I think I trust Seth Doege just like one step below that. You know what I mean? I have an irrational amount of trust in that man. But I just think that, if he's true to his word in that, he's looking to mold this offense around the pieces that he has available to him, I feel like that a receiver room with so many different profiles and so many different types of players can only help that offense. And you mentioned the tight ends similarly with that as well. Keon Burnett and Tyler Powell are nothing alike. You bring in Cameron Barmore. He's a glorified wide receiver in a 6'8" tight end body. Like, he could be that red zone threat that you alluded to earlier. So I think that there's a lot of different players to play with here. And it's exciting from that standpoint. It's exciting from the unknown, the mystery standpoint of what could Arizona be next year. Maybe it turns out to be another disaster, but maybe it looks a lot better and it kind of brings that joy back for this fan base that somewhat got lost last season, just in the fact that the expectations are low. So if they show anything, I think that can get people to buy back in. So we will find out. But this receiver room is certainly interesting. It's definitely an interesting one that we're going to be monitoring all season long. Couple quick notes before we get out of here. Arizona softball kind of falling apart. Just returning just 8 of 22 players. That's according to our guy Justin Spears. You have Altmaier, who joined the portal recently, and that's a big loss for this team. She was second team all Big 12 last year, second on the team in hits, third in RBI. Was starting outfielder And along with Dakota Kennedy, who was another starting outfielder who just left, who was unanimous All Big 12 selection. She was an All-American, given a Gold Glove for her ability in the outfield, and led the team with a 4.44 average this year. Two massive losses for this softball program. We've highlighted how Caitlin Lowe is on the last year of her contract and how difficult that can make it for her recruiting wise. This will only, I think, put a magnifying glass to that issue. I would venture to guess that I think it's partly because of the NIL resources that are being given to Arizona, which is really sad and concerning given the state of, our program's history and whatnot. You want to be competing at the top level. And it sucks that it feels like we're kind of being pushed out. And this is one of those effects of NIL that really, really stinks. But losing players like that has to be a combination of NIL, has to be a combination of the coach having 1 year left on her contract and her kind of long-term future being unknown. I just think that this softball program it sucks when you lose your pieces like that. Still got some players coming back. Still got Sydney Stewart, for example, in the fold as of right now. But it's definitely not an encouraging sign for Arizona softball.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is definitely a depressing note to have to bring up, because when you lose Devin Netz to the pros and then, some players to the portal, you're at least looking at this roster. And I think all Arizona softball fans, people who pay attention to the team, were saying, well, at least you still have Dakota Kennedy. She's not going anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And then she's all of a sudden rumored to be entering the portal, and then that becomes official. And now you lose Kaya Altmaier as well. And you're kind of in full rebuild mode. You went from needing a couple pieces to truly contend for a college softball World Series to now you kind of got to rebuild your core in a way, Damon. So, yeah, very unfortunate news for Arizona softball. We'll keep you guys updated on how that roster is shaking out as we continue to go through this offseason. Arizona did this past week add a pitcher to the roster. So it's not just all exports, there's imports too. You've added pitcher Janae Berry from Indiana. That's where she pitched last season. Originally from Phoenix, though. Berry made 24 appearances and 16 starts for Indiana with an 8-6 record. Had Indiana's second lowest ERA of 4.39. Led the team in WHIP and opponent batting average. And her 16 starts were the second most on the team as she pitched the third highest number of innings. But it's not like you're getting like a dominant necessarily pitcher in Berry. I mean, I alluded to the ERA being in the fours, and then also being a predominantly like contact pitcher. You're not really, striking out a lot of opponents there. Mm-hmm. The fly ball pitcher has a percent of 53.3 of the batted balls that she throws going into the air. You also have 29.4% of the batted balls staying on the ground, while 13.3 being, hard contact line drives. So at least it's an arm. It's an arm with some experience. It's an arm that wants to be back in Arizona, the state of. And then, I don't know. You need arms. You need to replenish some of these spots of players leaving your program, Damon. But it is very unfortunate for Dakota Kennedy and Kaya Altmaier to be departing Arizona.
Yeah. Yeah. And not to mention Indiana is not exactly the upper echelon of college softball. The Big Ten is not really a baseball and softball conference. So, that 4.39 ERA in the Big Ten, I would weight it a little differently than maybe in the SEC or the Big 12, for example. But yeah, it's certainly seems like Arizona softball is a little bit on a trend down as of right now. And hopefully DRF and Co can hopefully figure some things out, find some more funding, extend Caitlin Lowe potentially, who I don't think has, been perfect or done a phenomenal job, but has done a good enough job. And, definitely I think deserves a little bit more backing than what feels like is being given at the moment. Because, like I said, like I know that we don't live in a fantasy world and money is money and you can't it just doesn't, show up out of thin air. But there's just not a world where Arizona softball shouldn't be top 10 in resources in the country, because we have a fan base that cares. We have a great stadium, phenomenal facilities, and just a storied history of success in softball, and a team that every girl should grow up wanting to play for. So yeah, I I hopefully that situation gets figured out a little bit more. Transitioning over to baseball, the Chapel Hill Super Regional schedule been set. First game Friday, 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time on ESPN2. Gross for Arizona fans like me and Kevin, who are maybe a little bit younger, and 9 a.m. is a little earlier for your boys here. But
it probably shouldn't be. We should probably be a little more grown, but waking up a little earlier. But let's keep a spade a spade. Espo, what time you wake up in the mornings?
6 o'clock because my daughter.
6 o'clock because of his daughter. I got a dog, but he sleeps through whatever. If I wanted to sleep until 2 p.m., I could, and little Jack wouldn't say none to me. Espo,
I wouldn't be super happy with that when I was sitting here in this chair waiting to start this podcast, and it's 2 p.m. and I'm sitting here going, "Where the hell is Kevin?"
On a Saturday or a Sunday, I'll say. And
then he goes, "Oh, I just woke up. Sorry, man.
Sorry, I was doing a thing where I approve. I can't wake up early for the regional. I was trying to do a thing to ESPN. Sorry, dude. But yeah, no, Damon, not the most premier blockbuster prime time for Arizona Wildcat softball fans that are in college or of college age.
Yeah.
Oh, baseball. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Next game on Saturday.
Got my diamonds crossed.
Also 9 a.m. on Saturday, and then if necessary, they will TBA the Sunday game. But yeah, 9 a.m. games. On that Friday episode of our show, we will be talking about whatever happens in said game. We'll be watching it. And of course, we'll be keeping you locked and loaded with all your live coverage on our Twitter account. Make sure you give us a follow at PHNX_Wildcats. UNC has the third best ERA in the entire country at 3.39, which is insane in college baseball. They have a trio of starters that are 27-7. Their number one starter, forgive me, I didn't memorize his name, but apparently he's unbelievable. Like, don't know, one of the UNC journalists I was seeing said that, and this is via AZ Desert Swarm, and their sister site for UNC was saying that he doesn't know if that guy's had a bad start all season long.
That's crazy.
And said that he would take UNC in a game if he was on the mound versus any team in the country.
Wow.
So it looks as though the strength of this North Carolina team is their pitching staff. It's their defense. It's their base running. They're kind of an old school baseball team in that sense. Last season, they broke their program record for home runs. This season, that took a pretty big step back. They're still a good offensive team, but they're not a elite one. But they are an elite defensive and a pitching team. They finished third in the ACC this year, won their conference tournament. Very similar route to Arizona when you put it that way. I think Arizona finished fourth, or maybe third, and won their conference tournament. So kind of a similar trajectory there. Two very, very hot teams. North Carolina, number 5 team in the country in the rankings, so they're obviously a little bit regarded highly, a little bit more highly nationally. But I think that this is a battle of strength on strength here. You got Arizona's offense versus UNC's pitching staff, underrated aspect of this. If Arizona's pitching staff can kind of stifle, UNC's offense the way that they've been pitching recently, I think you could be looking at where Arizona's offense is going to give you a floor of a certain number no matter what. They're good enough where some guy's going to find a way to hit the ball over the fence, right? The pitching, if they can keep that to a 1-0, 1-2 spot, it could be enough for Arizona to pull off the W here, pull off the upset. So UNC, they were in the Super Regional last year. I think that they lost. They didn't make it. They're looking to make it this year.
Lost to West Virginia.
Will be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah. I was going to say about the Arizona offense conversation, petition to start saying that the baseball's banana bats are buzzing.
Petition denied. I hate it. This
tried.
isn't a Dr. Seuss book.
Well, it could be if you wanted it to be.
This is a college baseball team.
And a very serious professional podcast.
With the most professional podcast.
The most serious, most professional podcast west of the Mississippi. I'm sure NPR is based on the East Coast. So,
I think they have bases all over the place.
Bases, schmaces. Anyway, I'm excited for Arizona baseball, Damon. I think that this is a matchup that they could shock people, I think, by beating UNC. A very highly ranked, highly regarded team with very good starting pitching, as you alluded to as well. So very excited for Chip Hale's bunch and the Banana Boys, whose bats are buzzing. to keep building momentum, Damon. And unless you have more to say on baseball, I have a couple news and notes before we get out of here.
Let's do it.
All right. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. Megan McConnell has signed with the Phoenix Mercury. This went out there a couple days ago now. Megan McConnell, sister of Indiana Pacers guard TJ McConnell, has signed with the Phoenix Mercury. Big month for the McConnells. One in the NBA Finals, one earning another WNBA contract. Was talking to W expert, General Hoops savant, Stephen Prigion Gardner of PHNX Mercury and PHNX Suns about what this signing means for the Mercury and whether McConnell can actually stay on the roster. And the response he kind of gave me was that, like Ari McDonald's signing, this is a hardship exemption or exception, kind of situation where, you have 3 of the starting 5 for the Mercury out injured right now: Natasha Mack, Alyssa Thomas, Kalia Copper. You also have 2 of those players being involved in 2/3 of their big 3 paired with Satu Sabali. So this is a Mercury team that needs players that can contribute to winning, because they're players that contribute to winning the most. 2 of the thirds of them are out of the lineup right now for a substantial period of time. Kalia Copper looks to return here pretty soon. So will Megan McConnell be on the Mercury roster for very long? Time will tell. But it is an opportunity for her, like Ari McDonald, to make a really good showing for herself and to keep a spot on a team in the W somewhere around the nation.
Very cool stuff. Shout out the McConnell family as their legend in Arizona basketball lore grows. We had some men's basketball news and notes.
Yeah, random men's basketball news and notes. One of them I'll save for tomorrow. But I wanted to mention this because I've been sitting on it for a day and a half now. I was going through Ivan Kharchenkov's current team, Bayern Munich, over there, and there were some very, very interesting names that popped up on the roster, Damon. Remember Shabazz Napier?
Sadly, I do.
He plays with Ivan Kharchenkov.
I'm a Miami Heat fan.
Yes. Carson Edwards, I know Carson Edwards. Purdue guard, drafted by the Boston Celtics. Way undersized, just couldn't crack it in the NBA. He now plays for Bayern Munich. And Devin Booker plays for Bayern Munich with Ivan Kharchenkov. And you're like, dog, he's a Phoenix Sun. And I'm like, no, dog. Peep this, Devin Booker, USA basketball player, born on February 28th, 1991 in Whitmer, South Carolina. So not Devin Booker, but Devin Booker. And yeah, Damon's asleep. Not a fan of Devin Booker, the Bayern Munich guard. But I'm sure if it actually was Devin Booker, the man for the Phoenix Suns, Damon would be freaking out right now. But yeah, that's really all I had.
That's just like a classic Kevin joke. Like, look at this guy has the same name, and you're like, cool, man.
hey, I was looking at the roster. I had to do like a double, triple take. I had to be like Devin Booker. Devin Booker?
It's like a very common name.
Is it though? Is it actually?
Devin and Booker?
I didn't think Booker was like that common. I knew one kid with the last name Booker growing up.
Yeah, I mean, knowing kids with the last name, I guess, like I can't tell you a Smith I knew off the top of my head growing up, but I think I knew like the most popular last name.
I think I know 3 Smiths right now.
But I'm saying like I don't, but I know.
How many Smiths you know here?
The barometer for what's popular is not do you know somebody that has that last name. That's all I'm saying.
It's kind of, but it in some ways, and we can discuss this more after the show. But in some ways, it kind of is, right? Like it's the grocery store. What do they call it? The grandma test. Like,
well, I know 2 Totries.
See, I don't know any Totries,
and I know more Totries.
So I think it cancels out.
I know more Totries than Smiths. Must be a more popular last name.
Apparently, I thought Totri said his name was like Smith somewhere. Am I wrong? Did he lie to me? Dude, he's Persian, right? So like, I don't know. I thought he was trying to say that like, where
he's
his
Palestinian.
Okay, that's not my point. My point is
you called him Persian.
Well, I was wrong, and I'll shake his hand and apologize.
But I had to correct you.
You're right. No, you're right. My point being, though, Damon,
this is a professional podcast.
You're right. This is actually NPR, AZ Wildcats podcast, all city collab going down right here. But my point being is that like, isn't the test to see if a player has like made it in the mainstream is like if you can just go into a grocery store and ask someone, hey, have you heard of Damon Fairall? And they're like, yes. Then that person is, I don't know. Are you familiar with what I'm saying or no?
Yes.
Okay. That's what I was trying to get at. Is like, so like at its root, sometimes just knowing things does make it a popular thing. Correlation is not causation, though. I think is your point.
Correct. Riveting Damon and Kevin conversations can be had like this daily on this fine program. Join us at 2 p.m. as we will be back tomorrow on a Thursday. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Drop a like on this video if you have stuck it out to the end of this show. Subscribe to this channel, and also apologies if you stuck it out to the end of this show, because what were you doing? We'll be back tomorrow. It'll be way more loaded, and we can't wait to talk some Arizona athletics. For my guy Kevin Thomas, you can follow him at KevoPost. That's KEVOPOSTS. You can follow me at Damon Dog. That's DAWG, and you can follow us at PHNX_Wildcats. For Kevin, for Damon, for AZ Wildcats Pod, we will be back tomorrow. But until then, peace out, bear down,
and go Cats.
We all silly like the mayor.